Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Um, I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves really well and doing amazing in another video. Okay, so in this video guys, we will discuss um, just my travels, and if you've been keeping up with the things that have been happening, then you're aware of everything, right? You're aware of the fact that we moved from Bulgaria to Latvia, right, into my great grandmother's house first, right, and then out of there, then we moved out of there into an Airbnb in a random location, basically, okay? Not really a random location, but like I've never been here before, and so it was a new location, basically, that I've never seen in my life, right? And so, yeah, and you guys, so in this video, I'm just going to discuss, what's been happening and kind of give you an update, okay? And this message is actually really not about me, It's more about, just actually inspiring people and giving faith and hope to people that are going through similar circumstances, Um, I I really do believe that this will help because, um, you know, you guys, as I told someone, um, one of my viewers, right, um, I was losing faith at some point. It's not that I was like, mm, you know, I was losing faith and hope. I was, uh, having said that, that's not to say that I was going to revert back to my old ways or to the darkness, right, or to my past where I was, right. But no, that's not what I mean. But I was just beginning to really get down, and I stopped believing for a bit, so, and we all have these moments, right, when our faith begins to, we start questioning ourselves, right, and what we believe in, and even God, because if things are the same and nothing is happening, and you know you feel stuck somewhere in your life, right, and you know and you're trying, right, you're maybe banging on that door and you're trying to so you guys, I'm going to make this video for for all of you who are maybe whose faith is beginning to waver, and who are beginning to doubt it all, question everything, right, and including their faith in God. And I just want to tell you guys that it is a very normal thing at times, and especially if you know you've been feeling disconnected for a long time, and you've been feeling like nobody's there with you, nobody's coming through, and even if you maybe perhaps don't even you feel like God has left you, and then guys, I've been feeling this way for a long time, and I even began to question my channel, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, you know what I mean. This is the last thing that I want to do. In fact, I want you guys to watch me and get inspired, and I want to be genuine, I want to be authentic, and that includes being authentic in what I say and what I do. I'm because like a lot of people, for example, they start channels, right, or they discuss things that they don't even do in their real life, right, and that's hypocrisy, right, and but at the same time, uh, sometimes, right, we also have to remember that people aren't perfect, right, and also our perception, our beliefs, our values change too, so, and people do change. Someone just told me recently that people don't change, and that is not true. Yeah, a lot of people don't, right, they might still stay stagnant, right, but if someone is telling you like people don't change, I think it's more of a projection, from them. Maybe haven't changed, right? Because they're not learning the lessons that they're supposed to, and they're not changing those lessons. Even if they're painful, they're not changing them. They're blaming, right? They continue to blame, and that's what's keeping them stuck from changing. That's at least that's one of the reasons, right? But anyway, so you know, I really wanted to make this video, guys, to show you that God is real and God is good, and and to give glory to God, because this is exactly what He deserves, and always, actually, and not just in times when we get something, right? It's not really about that, but God really does give you peace, even in situations that where you have no money, right? As in the case with me, right? Where you guys learned that I literally had no money left, right? And I still do, but it's okay. Do you know what? Do you know what I can tell you? And you can see it, right? You can see this in action, right? That someone with no financial means, right? Finances, right? Can still be very happy, can still feel very much at peace, and can still experience a lot of joy, and I will tell you that this can be especially the case because you learn to appreciate different things. You learn to appreciate the small things, and you learn to be grateful for the little things that are coming your way, even if they're not huge, right? But it's just when you have nothing and then you finally get something, you're like, wow, you're so much more grateful, so there's that, right? So it's teaching you, that there joy really isn't found in money. Money is a tool, right? I'm not saying money is bad, right? Because we also have to be careful how we're using this language and the thoughts that we're giving out when it comes to attracting money and finances, right? But I'm not going to be teaching about finances now, right? Because I'm probably not the best person to do that, right? I have to have them first in order to teach, right? So I'm not going to be teaching you about money in this video, okay? But perhaps when I'm a millionaire, when I have a lot of finances, right, then I can start teaching you about it, but now I cannot, right? So yeah, when it comes to joy, I can teach you that you don't have to have money to be joyful. You don't have to have money to be peaceful. You don't have to have money to have faith, and believe that better things are coming, and that this situation is only temporary. And if you just continue to look on the bright side, then the bright side will be presented to you. Then God will provide. In any situation He will provide. But especially if you believe in Him, especially if you have faith, because also it has a lot to do with your energy, right? Our energy will attract the things that we want also, right? The right opportunities. But it is also, once again, it comes from God and the way that He works and operates, right? And God works through other people, okay? So you will always be presented with, just when you need it, just in time, you will be presented with opportunities and other people that will come into your life that will help you and provide the resources if that's what you need, right? So there's that. But of course, a lot of it has to do with yourself too, your own faith, your own belief. And this is exactly what I'm going to discuss in this video. I will give you a real life example of this, okay, working in my life just recently, right? And you guys, your ability to settle for less will also be really, really questioned and challenged at this time. It will be challenged your ability to really believe in yourself and to not settle for the second best or, the worst, okay? Even temporarily, right? And so this is exactly what happened to me in my case, okay? So guys, this is what happened, right? I will go into the story now, okay? So this is my testimony, right? And so when we left for Airbnb, right? I was pretty much out of money. Okay, I literally had I had like 15 maybe, okay, in my bank account, which is crazy. I've never been in this situation before. I'm a person who pretty much always has money, right? Because I've always worked for it. I've worked very hard, and I've created, and but with the child it's more difficult, right? You can't just, for example, if you work online and not enough projects are coming in, right? You can't just go and find something physically. You can try, of course, you can still do that even with kids, right? But what if you're trying all of that and nothing is happening, nothing is coming in, right? Like at some point something similar was happening to me when I was single, right? And I just left to another country where I found work, you know what I mean? And so so, and you can't just do that now with the child, especially if you're lacking in resources, because you have to pay for the extra ticket, right? There's so many there's more logistics, right, involved, and so you can't just do that, right? And so anyways, but of course that's also limiting beliefs, right? You can do anything you set your mind into, right? But at the same time, guys, right, it is harder, okay? It's harder with the child, right? And so anyway, so I was right, and I'm not blaming this on my child, right, or this situation, right? The situation happened, and maybe I will explain it in my other videos, right? But I'll make it very short, basically, right? My students have pretty much dried up in Bulgaria, right? I stopped getting as many students, and I was working for Uber also, right? Not driving, but like I had projects. I was doing some projects with them, right? And so they also kind of stopped coming, right? And so I was like, uh-oh, And so it was at that time that also, God kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone and into something that was better for me, right? And so that's, sometimes this can happen too, if you have been stagnant for a while and if you need to be somewhere else, right? And so this is exactly what happened to me, right? And so I ended up in Airbnb with no money coming in for a while from my students, right? And no income there, right? And so I had to wait, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, you know, I don't have any money left, right? I had like 12 or 15, I think, or something, right, in my bank account. And then suddenly, right, guys, you wouldn't believe this, okay? Suddenly, um, we tried to go to the store to buy some food, right? And I know I have like 15 there, right? So we bought as much as I, had or could afford at that time, right? And bam, my card gets declined. And I was like, what's going on, So of course, you guys know it's a little bit embarrassing when that happens, and I just kind of apologize, right? And I just leave, like a dog, behind, like with its tail behind its back. I mean, its legs, right? And it just felt terrible, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in this situation. Like, the only thing you can do is laugh in this situation, honestly. It's unpleasant, right? And it's like, okay, I didn't get food for me and my child, right? We still had a little bit of food at home, thank god, right? But we didn't get the things that we really wanted to, right? And so it was like, wow, I've never been in this situation before. This is crazy, right? So, and I was like, well, I wonder what's going on. So I go back to the Airbnb, right? And I check my bank account, and I see a charge from Airbnb, right? And they charged me some extra money, right? And so I'm at zero at this time, basically, right? And I was like, oh my goodness. And I just kind of panic a little bit, right? I mean, I don't panic, but yeah, actually I did panic. Never mind. And I was like, oh my God, right? So I block Airbnb from charging me farther, right? And I then I look into why they charged me, right? It turns out that, and I had to cancel my Airbnb also, right? So I had to cancel because I was paying too much money, right? Originally we paid too much money for a stay, and I didn't want to continue staying there longer, right? And so I canceled my trip until the end of the month, and that's it, right? So we needed to find something, right? Something else. And so that's exactly what I did, right? I canceled, and I started looking for something else, right? And um, and so they wanted to charge me an additional like $500-600, making the total cost for the month like almost $1,000. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is like, for Latvia, this is like a lot of money. I mean, this place is by the beach, right? But not next to it, right? But it's like a tiny room, guys. It's literally just a tiny room. I discovered also that they didn't even have a kitchen, so we couldn't cook anything, right? And my kiddo was basically like living on top of me, right? And I was like, for this amount of money, like you can get an apartment in this place for $200, like a luxury one, So and so it was ridiculous, right? And I was like, this is crazy, like I'm not going to pay $1,000, And so of course I spoke to the host, right? And I told Airbnb, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay an extra amount, especially like almost $600 extra for staying here. I just, first of all, I can't, right? Like, second of all, that's just not, it's not a fair price, right? For, even for paying 400, which is what we paid, right? Almost 400 for that place, it was not worth it, right? But we just had no other choices, guys. We had no other options, not that I knew of, basically, right? But or immediate options at least, right? And so, especially in an unknown place. And so, yeah, guys, I was like, I was shocked, right? And guys, suddenly, right, a message came in, right? And this is what happened. Let's go back to the past, okay? We'll get back to this moment in time, okay? So fast forward into the past, okay? And I saw a room, right? And I see a room, and it's a beautiful room. I'm looking at places, right? And you guys keep this in mind. I don't have any money yet, okay? I know it's coming, right, from my students, because I've developed, you know, permanent students over the years, right? And so I know that it's coming, but it's not coming now, right? And so, uh, but I still wanted to look at places, right? And so I see this room, and even before that, we looked at maybe 7 or 8 places, right? 7 or 8 different places, and I didn't like most of them, and I didn't want to settle and just take anything out of desperation, right? And so always remember, right, your value or your circumstances don't have to, depending where you're at too, of course, right? But just having that faith that the money will come in just when you need it, the students will come in just when you need it, or if you have projects, that will come in just when you need it. The resources will be provided. If you're a true child of God, the resources will always be provided, okay? So don't settle out of desperation. Don't settle because you feel like you have no other choice. In most cases, it's just in our minds, and sometimes we talk ourselves into settling for situations, places, locations that we're not even supposed to be in. If only we just had faith and just waited and trusted and listened to God, right? And the instructions to us. And so I had a few places in mind already, even before that, right? But something came in, something else, and it was just a really low price, and I was like, wow, and it was a beautiful place. It was in a hotel, actually, okay? And it was very posh, very stylish, very modern. It's something that I was like, wow, that's, yeah, that aligns with what I'm looking for, right? And I want, 150, I can pay that, and it's, it's very inexpensive, right? And yeah, I want to see, I want to see it, right? And so I ended up seeing it, and they had a shared kitchen, but it was very modern, very nice too, right? The whole hotel was just very pretty. And there was a guy there, okay, guys, and we met the guy there who was showing it to us, and he was the manager of the hotel, right? And guys, I made an entire video about that, and I'm going to discuss him in another video, okay? But yeah, we're not going to discuss it here just yet. But all I can say is that, okay, guys, so back to the story, right? And so we met this guy, and he seemed very nice, right? And guys, you know, the devil is in the details, right? And the devil will get you when you're at your lowest. And your lowest can mean financial, as in my case. Your lowest can mean being disconnected from source, from God, right? From our God, from our creator. Being disconnected, because I was really, and I still am in a sense, I was disconnected from my emotions. Because, because of everything that we went through, and because in Bulgaria I was already so exhausted, so worn out, right? But it took everything in me to actually uproot and to move here. So after that I was just like, wow, I was operating basically from in survival mode for a very long time, right? And so when this happens, we can temporarily get disconnected from our emotions. And when bad people come into our life, we can kind of, and because we want help, we need help, right? We can just let down our guard, even momentarily, right? And so I believe that's what happened to me in this situation too, okay, guys? And uh, but I'm going to discuss this situation in another video, okay? But all I can tell you right now is that even though, oh, okay, no, I'm not gonna say this, right? But so we met this guy, right? And I said that I really liked the room, right? And he said okay, right? And then I went back, right? And so let's go to where I was talking about Airbnb, right? And being charged for the room, right? And so I block, Airbnb from charging me farther, right? And I'm just like, I'm sitting on the couch, right? And I'm just like, wow, I'm speechless basically, right? I don't know what to do next. You know, bad thoughts start coming into my mind, right? Like, you'll be homeless, or things like that. And I'm just thinking about my son, right? And I just like, I'm like, I really like, I I'm really sad, right? And just like, you know, I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm in this situation with a child, and so, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening, right? And I couldn't even buy food for my child, and I was just embarrassed, I was like, wow, this is not good, but I also tell myself, okay, but you can pull through this. You've always done that in the past, and you'll find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And so, but suddenly, right, this guy texts me, right, from the hotel, and he's like, um, and I also tell him, actually before leaving the hotel, I also shared with him, that, we just, uh, escaped, an abusive situation with my great grandmother, right? And I shared this with him. I don't know why. I just, I just wanted to say it, right? And he looks like he looked at me like as if he was empathetic, right? Which was interesting, like, and and also, uh, he, but then he, and I told him, hey, if you, and then he started texting me later on, right, after that, and I sent him my YouTube channel. I was like, hey, if you like, check out my YouTube channel, just to get my perspective on things, just to understand me maybe a little bit better, right? And so, and then, as I'm about to like start crying, right? Uh, when this Airbnb situation happens, his text comes in. He's like, hey, I would love to give you a free month for, in the hotel. I spoke to the landlord lady, right? And we would love to give you a free stay in the hotel. Okay, and you don't have to pay anything, you don't have to pay a security deposit, nothing. You can just move in. And I was speechless. I was shocked at the time. I just started crying, and I was just so grateful and thankful. And yeah, I was just speechless basically, right? But um, you guys, this is where I'm going to say something, okay? And at this time when you're very vulnerable and when you are, maybe you need a place, maybe you need finances, maybe you're experiencing some kind of lack and it hasn't gotten to you yet, right? It can be very easy to fall for something like that, okay? The place was perfect, right? The guy seemed very nice. The opportunity was like, wow, right? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. How can this be happening, right? I'm like, this God is truly amazing, right? And I thought this was from God, right? But after everything that has happened, and I will tell you that story in another video, okay? So stay tuned. I already made it actually. Um, it wasn't from God. It was the devil trying to trick me into another abusive situation, guys. And thank God that I was able to discern the situation after some, uh, you know, reflection, right? Some me time and sitting in reflection, and um, yeah, and so let's go back to what I did, right? We ended up not taking the deal, okay, and I ended up contacting another place, okay, or another person that I spoke with, and I really had a good feeling about this place, and I really actually wanted it. It was my first choice. I wasn't sure between one place and another place, right? But this was my first choice, guys, and I was like, hey, is the place still available, right? And he was like, yeah, it is. And he just called me right away, and I was like, yes, and I asked one of my students to advance the payment to me, right, for the classes, to pay me a little bit earlier, and he did, okay, and I gave him an extra class for that, so that was amazing, right? And so that's how we were able to get half of the money for rent. And I spoke to the other person about possibly allowing me to pay the other half later, and he agreed, giving us another month for free. I don't know how this happened, and I don't know if this was actually the case. So might have misunderstood him, but that was really like astonishing to me, right? And he was like, and so I ended up getting the money just in time, and I ended up paying the guy, and yeah, we moved in, yeah, you know. So like I'm so grateful to God that I believed in myself, and so can you. Okay, so should you, because don't settle for a possibly abusive situation, just even if it comes in the form of being free. You guys, you have to remember, nothing is free in this life, okay? Yes, there are situations, and there are situations when you might get gifts, or you might get offered something for free, or there will come a person who is truly operating from God, with the Holy Spirit, and they might absolutely give you something for free without needing anything or wanting something in return. But in most cases, if the situation is too good to be true, then it is, okay? And so especially use your discernment at those times. Use your discernment when you're very vulnerable, as in our case, okay? And don't settle for possibly getting into another abusive situation, because if I did move into that hotel, we could have possibly been killed. We could have possibly been stuck with an abuser. He would have had a perceived power over us because he was giving us the place for free. And I didn't settle for that, because my peace and keeping that peace is also important. It's really, really imperative to me. And if you want to keep your peace, you should definitely stay away from toxic individuals, even when you think you're unable to. There's always a way, like I said, and God will use His people to help you in those situations. So don't just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to settle to be in an abusive situation just so I can save some money, maybe, right? Just temporarily. That's not a good idea, because they're going to suck everything dry. They're going to suck you dry. They're going to take your energy, because nothing is free, especially when it comes to toxic individuals. And so if they're offering you something for free, it's probably just to gain access to you and your energy, and to use you as that battery, okay? And so that's what he wanted to do, and I just didn't allow it. I said no more. We just got out of an abusive situation with my great-grandmother. There's no freaking way in hell am I going to get into another one, even if it seems so good on paper, right? Free this, free place, right? And a beautiful hotel, and right in the center, right? And screw that. Screw that. I told myself, enough is enough. Even with the lack of resources, I can still do it. I'm still capable. I will solve this. This is exactly what I did. I sat down and I asked myself, what can I do? What can I do in this situation? What are my options? How can I solve this? And most importantly, what is God telling me to do? Because once again, we're spiritually guided, we're spiritually led, and we're always going to get intuitive nudges to do something, especially in emergency situations. And in emergency situations, your gut is going to be extra strong. That's so you hear the message. So you're going to be hearing the message loudly and clearly. And yeah, don't ignore it, Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. We're okay now. We're good. I'm sitting with my beautiful, what is this, leopard? Okay, and that's just to remind you, be like this leopard, okay? And, be strong in times of when you are feeling weak. Because you can get out of any situation if you really, really want to. And with God on your side, you got this. You got this. I know. I'm sure many God's people are in these situations right now. Trust me, it's not the end. And God doesn't want you to go into an abusive situation. He doesn't. He wants you to believe in yourself. He wants you to truly believe in yourself. And guys, the best version of me, the unchanged version of me, would have settled, would have taken the free offer, because I would have been scared to be by myself. I would have been scared to make it on my own. I would have not believed in my own abilities to find another place just in time. I wouldn't have believed in God enough that He would provide and He would come through in the form of other people. So what I'm saying is that, without other people also, I wouldn't have been able to do this on my own. So you're not on your own, you're with God too, and He's always working. He's especially going to come through for you if you believe in Him and in yourself. first you also have to really believe in yourself, and then of course you have to believe in God too, that He will provide, He will come through. You're not on your own. On my own, I would have never been able to do this, because like for example, the guy who owns this place agreeing to let me pay the other half later, that was also a miracle, okay? Because people don't do this, right? With places, people don't do this. They want the money up front, like, you pay, right? Or you don't move, right? And so there was that, right? Then of course my student paying me, earlier, right? That also doesn't happen. Like, why do you want your money earlier? Like, so there are many things that were out of my control, and God will always step in those situations and work through these people, okay, to help you and to come through for you. So not everything might be in your hands, but certain things are, right? And so that's why faith without works is dead too. So it's a matter of you trusting, it's a matter of you taking action, and also it's a matter of allowing God to come through for you as His child, right? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this helped. I inspired some people to not settle. I hope I helped you guys in some way or form here, okay? And stay tuned for my other video where I will analyze the situation that I was in, where I will tell you about narcissism in fast forward motion, okay? Thank you so much for watching, guys.